Hello everyone, let's talk about Khazan. I'll talk about some of this game's aspects in a different time loops, and then in the end I will make a small conclusion about it. Okay, let's begin with the most interesting part, bosses. And holy fuck, I've never ever in my entire life have seen a game with harder bosses. I once say that for me, Fume Knight is the second hardest boss that I have ever fought in my life, and that I spent 50 attempts on this dude. Yeah, in Khazan pretty much every single boss is Fume Knight difficulty. Yeah, there are 2 or 3 easy bosses, but still, I've never seen a game with harder bosses. Bosses like Viper, Hismar, Rankus, Maluka, and many more. And this is without mentioning Ozma, which is without a doubt the hardest boss not only in Souls games, but generally in any video game that I have ever played. And just so you know, I played all From Software games multiple times and played many hack and slash and Souls-like games. And despite my huge experience, I am still getting bodied in this game. I don't even want to know what people who suck ass at Souls game feel while playing this game. Despite bosses' insane difficulty, I don't think that these bosses are bullshit or unfair. Yeah, there are 4 or 5 garbage or annoying tier bosses, but I would say that these game's bosses are on Dark Souls 3 bosses level quality. Bosses of this game have a very diverse and unpredictable moveset. They are very fast and aggressive. They are very dynamic. They have many cool anime hits, but unlike some game, these hits are either easy to avoid or do acceptable amount of damage. The bosses that I like the most were Phantom Blade, Ballerine, Maluka, Viper, Elamin, Riz, and of course Ozma. They all are very fun, epic, and interesting bosses with interesting moveset, especially Ozma, who has just absurdly diverse moveset. I've never in my life have seen a boss with more diverse and interesting moveset. Like I said earlier, yeah, there are a few garbage or annoying bosses, for example, Hismar, Rankus, Witch, or Spider, but despite that, I still think that bosses of this game are very interesting, challenging, and most importantly, fair. Also, I will add that bosses of this game are more like endurance fights, and not just spam roll or parry button until you kill bosses. Even at hard difficulty, bosses won't one-shot you, well, okay, outside of magical gears, but hey, magic in Souls games, what can I say? It's very balanced. I will talk about it a bit more in details later, but this game wants you to use all your abilities that you have, equip useful sets that give you either cool passive that you can change if you don't like some of its passives, or some new abilities that are very useful against bosses. In this game against bosses, well, at least after Viper, you are more than strong enough to fight most bosses on equal terms, which honestly is a very good thing, because you don't die just because bosses are overstated, or because they have one Mamba Jamba outplay button. No, you die because you fucked up. You didn't play it properly, you didn't use your abilities properly, and because of that, you died. Now let's talk about combat system. This combat system is basically what I want Sekiro to be, a hack and slash Souls game. In this game you have Spear, Duels, and Uges. They all have completely different playstyles, and they all have some cool abilities which you can combine in order to do good amount of damage to bosses. In 2 words, I like this combat system, and even now I think that is the most creative combat system among all Souls games. But there are a few oopsie moments on which I want to talk about. First, let's start with simple ones. Sets. Is it just me, or sets that you get after killing bosses are much stronger than regular sets, especially from bosses after Maluka? For example, sets of Viper, Riz, or Elamian, which allows you to pretty much unlock any humanoid boss with Spear, or set of His Hizmar, which allows you to nearly face tank nearly every single boss. But the champion of broken sets without a doubt goes to duals. The best example of that are Ozma's set, which allows you to pretty much nuke anything that breaks even on New Game Plus. But an award for the most broken set without a doubt goes to Scalpel's set. Holy shit, this set is just absurdly broken. This set has so much healing, plus it buffs duels after images so hard. If you have big amount of stamina and stamina damage, any boss, well, besides Water Witch and Hizmar, is fucked no matter what. This set is 100% easy mode and the most broken thing in Khazan. If you have any problem in this game, just equip this set and bully bosses. Well, Ozma will still kick your ass, but hey, it is what it is. Now I want to talk about weapons. I want to talk about UGS because I didn't really enjoy UGS. And I also think that among all weapons, UGS is the weakest one. Mainly because I just don't understand what advantage it has over duals and spear. For example, duals have very high DPS, and because of that they are very useful against big monsters with a lot of stamina, while spear is very good at pushing, which allows you to easy poise break humanoid bosses who have low stamina bar, but they recover it plus minus fast. I guess the advantage of UGS is that you have tankiness and good damage reduction, I guess. Okay, now let's take for example duals. I honestly believe that originally you had only duals, because in this game not only duals have the biggest amount of sets, it also has the biggest amount of different abilities, plus is the very first weapon that you even get. And also it's more balanced compared to spear. What I mean by that? Well, spear has a thing that I like to call wake up buddy. What I mean by that? Well, let me show you exactly what I mean.
Flail around uselessly, flail around uselessly, flail around stunned, flail around slowed, flail around stunned, flail around uselessly. You can choose so many paths.
Okay, to be fair, in theory you can do the same thing with duals or UGs, but still, spear in this game is pretty broken. You do so much stamina damage with spear, plus it allows you to stun lock most bosses much easier than with UGs or duals. My headcanon is that spear and UGs were added at the last moment to add some diversity in combat, because UGs is boring as fuck, while spear is super duper OP versus most bosses. Now let's talk about combat versus bosses. This combat system and logic in boss fights really reminds me of Stellar Blade. I would say that this game's combat is Code Vein plus Stellar Blade. Now let me explain. You should not play this game as a Souls game. If you just hit parry bosses like in Lies of P and Sekiro, or if you dodge bosses hits and play it like Elden Ring or Dark Souls 3, you will suffer a lot in this game. In this game you have skills, and you should use them over and over, otherwise you will suffer so hard it's just not even funny. Just like in Code Vein you have different weapons, and depending on your weapon skill ability, you can combine them with each other and do good amount of damage to bosses. And just like in Stellar Blade, after poise breaking bosses, you have a small window to hit bosses while they are unconscious. And after your combo, you can do a very small amount of damage with riposte. Also, I'll quickly name same things that Khazan has similar with Stellar Blade. Quick hits after perfect parry, you recover some resources after perfect dodges, skill tree. On New Game Plus you get some new abilities that are pretty much updated version of your already existing skills. On New Game Plus, some of your equipments get one extra passive, and just like in Stellar Blade, in Khazan there are symbol hits, and unlike Sekiro, in which you need to use a dash as soon as you saw Mikiri's symbol, in Khazan and Stellar Blade, they have a small delay, and you need to avoid them at the last second. Now let's talk about the Spear Shot and local Demon Trigger. Spear Shot in a boss fight is pretty much useless, simply because bosses won't allow you to take aim and shoot them. Spear Shot is only useful at killing basic mobs. For example, there are 3 mobs, and with Spear Shot, you just kill the squishiest one, mostly Archer or Mage, and then deal with the remaining ones. Now let's talk about Devil Trigger. I've never, ever, in my entire life have seen more useless ultimate among all hack and slash games. Not only it lasts a very short amount of time, it won't give you extra damage, it just gives you extra health bar and also somewhat powerful moves, that aren't really that useful. The double thing is that these moves reduces the time you can be in your ultimate, and also if you take damage, the time of your ultimate will also decrease, and realistically saying, even at full update, the only reason to use this ultimate move is to just tank bosses hard wombo combo. That's it. The only useful update of ultimate form is ability which allows you to instantly transform while you are about to die. Other than that, this ultimate move is completely useless. Even though there are a few oopsie moments with this combat system, such as in early game you have to level up stamina no matter what, you need to ignore any other stat before you update stamina at least at 25, otherwise you will be out of stamina in 2 hit. Bosses and especially some basic mobs can stagger you to death. Say hello to white knights at the end of the game, especially the ones with shield and spears. Some skills are much more useful than others, and I would say that early game is very unfair, because not only you have close to zero stamina, because you update endurance, you do very low amount of damage, and for example Viper will take you a lot of time, simply because you have close to zero health and damage. But despite all of that, I would say that combat of this game is good with its some unique features, and not just enlarge Demon Souls but faster, or secure Elden Ring's combat arts. Now let's talk about some of this game's huge myths that are not true at all. First of all, many people say that bosses of this game are very tanky, and because of that each phase can last nearly 10 min. And this is not true, but also a bit true. Let me explain. Realistically saying, in this game there are only 5 bosses that are absurdly tanky. For example, Spider, Viper, Vampire, Hismar, and I would say Shakshuka. But here is the thing. I only agree that Viper and Hismar are absurdly tanky and even unjustifiably tanky bosses. Others, despite their tankiness, have massive weak points, which allows you to deal with their tankiness. For example, Spider. You can destroy his ass and arm over and over and do insane amount of damage to him. Shakshuka has many moves which makes him vulnerable, and you can wombo combo him for free. Plus, if you have Fire Enchantment, he's fucked. Vampire in his phase 2 is losing his health bar very fast, and if you just run away from this madman, or if you throw poison bubbles at him, you can easily kill him. Other bosses are not that tanky at all, and in order to prove that, let me show you 2 quick videos. Now myth number 2. Not that many but a bunch of people say that giving a Lacrima aka Souls after your death against a boss is a better thing, because if you die enough time, eventually you will be over level than boss, and you will just two-shot him. And as a dude who died against almost all bosses at least 50 times, I can guarantee you that there was not even a single boss that I killed just because eventually I out-leveled them. The myth number 3 is that this game is super duper hard, and not really. Yeah, this game without a doubt has a hard bosses for sure, but as a whole, I really don't think so. Outside of bosses, this game doesn't really have challenging moments. If you want to know which game I consider to be a hard game, it's Devil May Cry 3 on DMD difficulty. In this game you are getting wrecked at any moment, not just against the bosses, and because of that I consider Devil May Cry 3 to be a hard game, while Khazan is an easy game with hard bosses. Now I want to talk about this game's a few very shitty moments. Let's start with the simple ones. Am I the only one who thinks that playing this game on keyboard is much more comfortable than on gamepad? Because for some reason heal button is on this button, and during intense fights, it's pretty hard to use a heal, simply because your fingers are above this button. Maybe it's just me, but for me playing this game on gamepad was a bit pain in the ass. Now let's talk about this game's pretty big problems. Remember how I made fun of Elden Ring over and over for nearly infinity boss reuses? Yeah, the situation with Khazan is somehow even worse. In this game there are 16 main big bosses, and among 16 of them, there are only 7 unique bosses. Yeah, some reused bosses have a bit changed moveset. For example, Phantom Blade spams teleports over and over, and he changes his weapon much faster, plus he has a few new wombo combos, but on average, these big boss reuses are original bosses that either already start in their phase 2, or they are the same boss, but will teleport and at best 1 or 2 new move. Now my biggest fuck you to this game. This game reminds me of Nioh so goddamn hard. And just so you know, I consider Nioh to be the biggest garbage that I have ever played. I despise everything about this game. And the fact that Khazan snitched so many things from Nioh is not the best thing. For example, in Nioh you clear the location once, cool, now be a good boy, and clear this exact same location but from the opposite side, walking same basic mobs and empowered bosses that you already killed over and over and over. In Khazan, guess what? You do the same shit. In Nioh you have to spend very solid amount of time on getting rid of useless loot, simply because you found the exact same armor but with better stats. In Khazan you have to do the same thing. In Nioh there were some phantoms that you could kill, and after killing them you got some of their equipment. In Khazan you can do the same thing. And the list goes on and on and on and on. Yeah, this game is billion times better than Nioh, but the fact this game reminded me so much of Nioh was very disgusting moment for me. In this game, just like in Nioh, there are side quests, and locations in these side quests are the locations that you already finished. Yeah, there are exceptions, but 80% of the time locations in these side quests are locations that you already killed but from the other direction. At the end of this location you will find a boss who you already killed, for example Elamane or Tyr, or you will face a basic mobile insane hellbar, or in a row you will fight a boss that you already killed at some point. In this side quest, the only somewhat unique boss is Reaper and Succubus, but Reaper sometimes is a phase 2 puppet in a Belarian boss fight, and before Princess for some reason, while Succubus is a basic mobile boss hellbar and will 3 maybe 4 new move. Even though I finished every single side quest mission, I didn't enjoy any of them at all. Now let's talk about the story of this game. Honestly, I would say that after Lies of P, this game has the most easy to follow and understandable story among all Souls games. You don't need to watch some YouTube videos in order to understand what's going on. Even I, who didn't really try to understand the story of this game, realized everything just by watching PowerPoint presentations after killing bosses. In 2 words, there are Khazan and Ozma. They are best buddies. They killed big dragon named Hizmar, who they thought was the biggest But after their success, Emperor betrayed them and you have to do revenge thing. But very soon you will realize that things are not that simple. I won't say that this is some oh my god 10 out of 10 Agatha Christie level story, but it's just a decent anime story about revenge and local gods. I also want to talk about locations, but there is nothing to say about locations. Just Dark Souls 3 level locations. Go forward, open shortcuts a few times, clear location, and let's try hard boss. Okay, let's have a conclusion. I honestly struggle to make a conclusion to this game, so I will say this much. Even though there are a few oopsie moments about this game, I would say this is a very good game. And also I will answer one very simple question. Is this game the best Souls-like, and is it better than Lies of P?
Yes!
I will say this much. Everything that other Souls-likes do good, this game does better. And this game without a doubt also gives a run to their mind to most From Software games. For example, Nioh is a loot-based Souls-like, this game also is a loot Souls-like, but it doesn't waste your time on redressing your character after every 10 seconds. Code Vein had skill abilities that required some resources, this game does it better, because if in Code Vein you need to use these skills over and over for a short amount of time in order to fully activate them, in Khazan you just select skills in skill tree menu and you are good to go. Lies of P was a good game, but it copy-pasted absolutely everything from Software games, starting with bosses and weapon moveset, and ending with visual and story, and because of that this game had a close to zero individuality and felt like a high quality mod, well, Khazan didn't steal anything from Software. It stole from Nioh, but unlike Lies of P, it also added many new features and mechanics, plus bosses are 100% new and unique bosses with original moveset, and not just hey, let's copy paste Lady Maria and give them 2-3 new moves and call it a day. Well, that's pretty much it. Type what you think about my video. If you like it, press something under it. With this, I will say bye bye to you and I will see you next time.